Good morning. How are you all today? Thank you for visiting with us, Andre and Betty, and welcome to Bible class. I mention this from time to time that before we begin these lessons each week, we have prayer and praise and worship before I start teaching the lesson. So thank you for your prayers and for your attentiveness. And I thank my new subscribers and you all. Be sure, if you can remember, to push the like button. And for those who have not subscribed, please do so. So we're coming together again today for our studies from the book of Genesis. We're in chapter 41. Our subject is revealer of secret things. And we'll see this subject play out through the life of Joseph, Jacob's 11th son. And so we begin in chapter 41 of Genesis. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. This river is the Nile River because it didn't say a river, but the river, that's a specific river. So after the butler had been restored to office, after Joseph interpreted his dream, Joseph asked him to remember him and speak on his behalf to Pharaoh. And then the butler forgot about it, but he's going to remember again in this chapter. So when it came to pass after those events that Pharaoh had a dream, verse 2, and behold, this is his dream, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine or cows, and fat-fleshed, and they fed. Let me read verse 2 again. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, healthy cows, and fat flesh, and they fed in a meadow, like pasture land. Verse 3. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed. And it stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored, verse 4, the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh woke up, verse 5, and he slept and dreamed the second time. He went back to sleep. He dreamed the second time. And behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank or plump and good, or full and good. Verse 6. And behold, 7 thin ears and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. Verse 7. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. Verse 8. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Verse 9. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. So now his memory of what he had said to Joseph resurfaces. Verse 10. And Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in ward or in jail in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. Verse 11. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. Verse 12. And there were there with us a young man, an Hebrew, a servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams, to each man according to his dream he did interpret. Verse 13. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto mine office, and him, the baker, he hanged. Verse 14. Then Pharaoh, after the magicians and wise men couldn't help him, then in verse 14, Pharaoh sent and called Joseph. The butler had told him about Joseph interpreting their dreams. And they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he, that is Joseph, shaved himself and changed his clothing of raiment and came in unto Pharaoh. We can learn from this verse that when we are going to look for a job or apply for a job, to clean ourselves up and present ourselves favorably. Verse 15. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. Verse 16. And Joseph, always humble, and Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And when we're concerned about something enough to pray about it, when God answers, it will always be an answer of peace. Verse 17. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat flesh and well favored, and they did feed in the meadow. Verse 19. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill favored and lean fleshed, such as I never saw in all of Egypt for badness. Verse 20. And the lean and ill-favored kind did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored as at the beginning, so I awoke. Verse 22. And I saw in my dream, this is the second dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered thin, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could explain it or declare it to me. Verse 25. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God had showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. Verse 26. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. Verse 27. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kind that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. So there'll be 7 plentiful years and 7 years of famine. Verse 28. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, verse 29, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. Verse 30, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. Verse 31, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. Verse 32, and for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice, it is because the thing is established by God, the famine and the plenty, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now, in the Word of God, God always establishes his will by 2 or more witnesses. A subject will be stated first and repeated 1 or several more times, and each time it's repeated, it explains a little more than was said before. So by 2 or 3 witnesses, God establishes his will. Verse 33. So now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. So now Joseph is saying to Pharaoh to get a man discreet and wise. And in verse 38, that will be explained to be the Spirit of the Lord. And later, Pharaoh is going to call Joseph's name, change his name to Zaphnath-Paneah. And what that means is revealer of secret things. And so God is giving him the wisdom and the spirit of discernment. But Joseph is saying to Pharaoh, you take charge of this. But we're going to see Pharaoh reverse this. 34. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. That would be 20% of all the produce in these plenteous years. 35. Joseph talking to Pharaoh, and let them gather, the officers gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food or store food in the cities. Verse 36. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And later in this chapter, we're going to say at this point in history, Egypt was the first world empire, because there are other countries all around in the land of Pharaoh, and they all will come under the rulership of Pharaoh as being king over Egypt. Verse 37. And Pharaoh's response. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. Verse 38, we're going to see what discreet and wise mean. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? That's his discretion and being wise. 39. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, forasmuch as God had showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Now Joseph had been brought out of a dungeon in a prison, but now things are moving forward for Joseph's dreams to be fulfilled that he had in chapter 37, verse 40. Thou shalt be over my house, and according, this is Pharaoh talking to Joseph, thou shalt be over my house, and according to your word, or thy word, shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you, or greater than thou. So this is Joseph's promotion from jail to the palace. Verse 41. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. Verse 42. And Pharaoh took his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hands, and dressed him in clothing of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck, securing his position. Verse 43. And he made Joseph to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, bow the knee. This is to Joseph, bow the knee. And he made him ruler or governor over all the land of Egypt. Verse 44. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, I'm the king, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. Verse 45. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paneah, which again means a revealer of secret things. And he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Pontiphera, priest of On. That's a place in Egypt. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. So Asenath is a type of the bride of Christ. And because Jesus, being a Hebrew, and the church, being Gentiles, are the bride of Christ. This Asenath is a Gentile. Verse 46. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Jesus was 30 years old when he began his earthly ministry. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. Verse 47. And in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth handfuls, and he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up food in the cities, the food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in that same 7 plenteous years. 49. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left numbering. He stopped counting, for it was without number. Verse 50. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. Verse 51. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God said he had made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. So Manasseh means forgetting. Verse 52, and the name of the second called he Ephraim, which means fruitful. For God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction, all my trouble. So Ephraim's name is fruitful, and Ephraim will become the northern kingdom in the book of 1 Kings, 2 Kings, and Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. Verse 53. And the 7 years of plenteousness that was in the land of Egypt were ended. Verse 54. And the 7 years of dearth or drought began to come according as Joseph had said. And the dearth was in all lands, meaning other countries. But in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith to you, do. And Jesus, when he turned the water into wine at the marriage feast, his mother, Mary, told the servants, whatsoever he say unto you, do it. And so that's just bringing out the fact that Joseph is a type of Christ. Verse 56, and the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. Everybody was under Egyptian rulership. And the famine grew or waxed severe in the land of Egypt. Verse 57. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so severe in all lands. And the following chapters will enhance on showing that Egypt was the first world empire. So thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and a great week.